You came from the Chief Keef era of Chicago. Can you talk about like the cultural influence that like that culture, like the drill music and just the environment in Chicago period influenced your work?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I grew up in the city and the burbs, like city and south suburbs, and being between both of those spaces, I feel like that era in the early 2010s really shaped the landscape of the city. Like that was different than like a Common or Kanye. That was something that was like completely different. I don't feel like really anybody in the industry had heard anything like that, and I feel like it redefined what music could be in that space. And I don't know, it was a lot kind of going on in the city at that time, and just kind of going between both spaces, like you saw a lot of things happening, across all these different environments, and you also saw like it was a crazy time in the city, and you saw a lot of people like fleeing the city and going to the burbs too, and then kind of going that. It's like it was a different dynamic then, and I was a kid too. Like I was like 10, 12, when that stuff was really popping off. So as a child, like you got a greater understanding of it as you got older. Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot kind of going on. Like when I think about it now, like it was a lot of disinvestment that was happening. There was a lot of programs that were kind of taken away when the projects got tore down in the 90s. A lot of those things kind of happened as a result of that. And, people were just going to war senselessly. And I feel like it definitely had an effect on a lot of families and stuff. And that was the thing that was kind of seen, because Chicago is big, it wasn't just in that neighborhood, it was all across the city. Yeah.
And how did that impact your art? Like, how, artistically, what did you take all that energy and do with it?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me, my people always made me feel safe. So, you always are aware of your surroundings, but my parents didn't play. And my community didn't play. So it was, for me, I always felt protected in that way. And I feel like that was like the most important thing.
Okay. So when did you pick up art? Like, was that the cool thing to do where you were? Like, how exactly did that come about for you?
Nah, I've always been like drawing and painting, or drawing really my whole life. I didn't start painting until I was in high school, and it came after a moment of just being in between basketball and like a summer just being down, and I just picked up a paintbrush because I wanted to experiment a little bit, just on the dining room table. Almost messed up some, that dining room cloth went on. And my mom was in the dining room and stuff, but yeah, it wasn't like it's widespread. It was something I kept to myself for a long time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I got older I started like sharing that with other people. I was in like different programs and stuff as a kid, but that's something you keep to yourself. I was that tall, like athletic kid that people knew, but it was more so for like basketball. Mm-hmm. The Chief Keef, like, man, the Chief Keef era, because that was the first question. So I was trying to reach back into like the depths of my mind and stuff like that. When I left the city for the first time, I was like 9, and like that stuff really just started like first popping off. And I just remember the impact. Like I was a kid where my mom, I grew up in like a super Christian family, so like my moms did not play about all gospel music, And I just remember like hearing Chief for the first time and like just being jarred, like, yo, this is insane. And you know, a little kid. Mm-hmm. And, seeing the impacts of just what was going on in the streets at that time, and like how Chicago has changed from like that early 2010s era. And, and it's not just Chicago, it's all the big, cities in the US have changed from those 2010s places. Mm-hmm. And you think about like, it was something authentic to what was going on in that space. It was also a lot of joy though, even though it was a lot of like things kind of going on in the world at that time. Mm-hmm. It was like a lot of joy. We don't have a dictator in office, even though you had Obama.
Right.
It was just certain things that was just there, and maybe that's like my nostalgia, for being a kid, but just talking from, to folks in the area, like even like that juxtaposition of you got Chief Keef and you got Obama at the same time. And like when I was a kid, I went to Obama's barbershop. Like that was it was just something that's there, you know. So to be able to like dive into those effects and like the juxtaposition of like, you know, violence, safety, sacredness, and culture all at the same time is super interesting.
Yeah.
And like as an adult, you can really kind of like break that down, because as a kid, you understand it, but you just living. You're not like breaking it down as an artist and like, you know, being basically an anthropologist, you know, and how you going about it, you know what I mean? So it's cool to be able to, you know, do it now as an adult. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was kind of dope, and it stuck to me because, like, not just Chief Keef, but that whole drill music movement.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of call and response.
Yeah.
A lot of chant.
Yeah.
A lot of like sing along. So it's kind of like community based in a
yeah.
weird kind of way.
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though the subject matter was like.
Subject matter was crazy.
But it was like when you would like at a party or something, and that music came on, like everybody engaged.
Yeah.
Which was always interesting to me, and like the people be like, Chief Keef, like icon, pioneer, like.
Yeah.
Like when you look at it, like what he was able to do in that whole movement, it brought people together in a way, maybe not the most positive way, but that really like, that music was a medium for a lot of people to like be on the same page, even if only like for the duration of like a 4-minute song.
Yeah.
So people kind of like discount the impact of that.
I don't, and you know what's crazy for me now, the thing when I look about culture and how it spreads, drill spread to New York, spread to the UK, it spread worldwide. You know, so I feel like
from like a Chicago basement.
No, literally, I'm like, y'all, it was just people literally just reflecting their lives in that humanity, and that spread all across the world. You can't discount like what that is and how many people like resonated with, you know, what was going on. And I think like to be able to understand that moment and like, you know, both good and bad, is something that we have to like reckon with. And that's just like one small like little part of, you know, the huge puzzle, because it was so much for them to even get to that point, you know, because it's very few that's still standing from that era. That's the thing that's sad. So you just try to, you know, have acknowledgement, you know, for people, and grace, and go about it with grace. But yeah.